In all but one county in Oklahoma, oil and gas drilling is permitted and monitored by the Oklahoma Corporation Commission. All those counties are also subject to the regulations and laws of the Environmental Protection Agency and the State Department of Environmental Quality. But that is not the case in Osage County. That's because all mineral rights were reserved in trust for the benefit of the Osage Nation by the 1906 Congressional Allotment Act. The Bureau of Indian Affairs oversees that trust, and many landowners say the agency has failed to do its job in protecting the environment.
The landscape of rolling hills in Osage County is dotted with oil wells. Many are pumping nonstop, some are idle, others are abandoned. At last count, in October of last year, there were some 44,600 wells documented. Property owners, mostly cattlemen, have no say about who can drill on their land or how many wells are drilled. That's because while individuals may own the land, the minerals underground are owned by members of the Osage Nation. That was declared by an act of Congress in 1906. Since then, oil and gas drillers only have to provide landowners with what is called a commencement of operation check.
An oil operator, a producer, can literally send a certified check for $300 to a landowner, and they literally have the right to go anywhere they want to upon that property and drill a well.
Even if the landowner protests?
Absolutely.
Jeff Henry is the president of the Osage County Cattlemen's Association and is also a property owner. Through pictures, he has documented how the ranch land and natural resources of Osage County have been damaged by oil and gas drilling operations.
Everything from environmental pollution, including saltwater spills, oil on the ground, and degrading our environment and our natural resources, including water.
The oil and gas operators get their permits from the Bureau of Indian Affairs, an arm of the Department of Interior. The BIA is also supposed to regulate safety and any environmental hazards created by drilling. Landowner Nona Roach has 50 wells on her 160 acres. She has had cattle electrocuted by power lines left live on the ground by well operators. Roach also says her soil has been ruined by drilling operations.
And I've been asking everybody, EPA, BIA, anybody, as to how they could do an injection well like that and have not only salt water bubbling up, but crude oil.
Roach says the BIA has been mismanaged and understaffed for years.
I went to the Bureau of Indian Affairs trying to find the drilling permit, and it's evidently missing in action. Nobody has that. The actual completion report doesn't even say it's a horizontal well.
I had the field man from the BIA out no less than a dozen times. Oil on the ground, salt water on the ground, dead cattle, a lot of terrible, terrible issues. RETA cable and electric cable all over the ground, a lot of dangerous stuff. Had the field man out, dozen times or so, as well as the superintendent of minerals and also their supervisors. Nothing was ever done. That producer was never fined, never shut down.
Landowner Jerry Mosley says he has had his share of problems as well. Mosley blames the BIA for dragging its heels for nearly 4 years to correct hazards on his property, a job that in the end took 4 days to correct. Mosley believes the BIA is failing to monitor oil operators.
We have got 440 electric lines lying on top of the ground. We've had 4 fires that came from those because they arced and they started a fire. And there's nobody to say, you've got to run the electricity up in the poles.
The problems not only affect livestock and land, human health is also at risk. In the natural gas drilling process, hydrogen sulfide, H2S, can be produced. It's highly toxic. If the air contains very high levels of H2S, a person can die quickly. In Osage County, 4 people have been hospitalized after breathing the gas.
There has been some occurrences where people have been overcome with gas. They've gone to the doctor. The doctor said that it was H2S poisoning, so clearly it exceeded the current standards.
Tom Williams used to be an oil and gas producer. He's also worked for the Department of Energy. Williams is now the senior advisor for a nonprofit consortium working to reduce the environmental footprint of oil and gas drilling. He says his efforts have been stymied in Osage County.
Sometimes you don't even know who you're supposed to call. Should you call EPA, who's normally supposed to do it? EPA says they're not supposed to be in Osage County. If you call the state and say they're the ones, the Department of Environmental Quality, and you're supposed to do it, they say they're not supposed to be in Osage County.
Petroleum engineer Bob Jackman estimates it will take $60 to $70 million to clean up Osage County land. He says the BIA should pay for it, but he doubts that will happen.
The whole BIA agency it's running a $4 billion mineral estate here. And they run it like a one-pump 1930s filling station.
Jackman believes the BIA doesn't have the expertise to fulfill its obligations.
They don't have the qualified people to run this size of a mineral estate without a petroleum geologist is insane.
The Osage Negotiated Rulemaking Committee met this week in Pawhuska to review current policies and regulations regarding oil and natural gas drilling. Representatives from the BIA and the Department of the Interior serve on the committee. We were barred from videotaping the public meeting and were only allowed to take still photos. An attorney for the BIA also would not permit us to interview anyone on the committee. 9 people were allowed to speak for 4 minutes each about their concerns.
These people are in their own little bubble with their own closed-mindedness, and the closed-mindedness, again, is how they're conducting these hearings. They don't want you to get off of their agenda, their specific targets.
Jeff Henry told committee members they were rushing their decision-making process about revising the federal code and that committee members need to hear all landowners' complaints and suggestions before making changes. He also asked for an outside audit or review,
in which outside professionals can come in, review the regulations as they are today, how they're applied, what's wrong, what needs to be done to change those regulations, to bring them up to speed with the rest of, at minimum, the rest of the state, comparable to Oklahoma Corporation Commission.
Landowners hope the committee will operate with more transparency and cooperate with those concerned about the environmental hazards in Osage County.
I don't want to stop anybody from drilling. This country needs its oil and gas. But I want them to respect the right of the surface owner.
Landowners will have another chance to speak before committee members when they meet again March 13th and 14th at the Osage Casino Event Center in Tulsa.